Hello, crafty friends. This is Leah Lawson, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I am joining my friends at Altenew for their December 2025 release video hop, where there are $300 in prizes and tons of inspiration to be seen. And you can get all the details that you need in my video description below. For today's video, I'm going to be featuring the brand new Hellebore Haven product suite, which includes a 4x6 stamp set and a coordinating die set for the flowers and an additional word that says friends, or friend, pardon me, coordinating layering stencils for ink blending in the flowers, and then finally this lovely 3D embossing folder for adding some texture and loveliness to your projects. I'm going to start with the 3D embossing folder. Now I have a panel of very pale pink cardstock that I've already lightly spritzed the back with some water. I have just found that 3D embossing folders work better if you do that. Now I have adhered the panel at a little bit of an angle in the plate in order to position it in that lower right corner of the panel. And when you run it through your die cut machine, you get this beautiful amount of texture, and I think it's just going to be really lovely in the background of my card. Now up next, I am getting the stamping done of that nice big floral bunch or floral bouquet that's included on the stamp set. You'll notice I peeled the packaging away from the stamp rather than peeling the stamp away, and that just reduces any stretching that could happen. Now I'm planning to heat emboss this image, so I prepped the panel with some anti-static powder first, and now I'm just generously inking up the stamp with some embossing ink. Now I'm only showing the stamping once, but I do stamp about 2 or 3 times to make sure that I get a really good impression that will grab that embossing powder really well. So today I am using a Gold Pearl Sparkle Embossing Powder. I love that soft kind of yellow gold that you get, but I also am loving the added sparkle in this, and I thought it would look really lovely with this stamp set. I love sparkle, so if I can add sparkle somewhere on my card, you know I'm going to do it. So once I have really good coverage of the embossing powder, I am just going to use my heat tool to set that embossing powder and really make the whole thing sparkle. This takes just a little bit of time. It's a little bit larger of a floral element. So just take your time when you're doing the heat embossing and make sure you get a nice, good, get everything nice and melted. And when all is said and done, just look at all of that lovely sparkle. So now it is time to ink blend with all of the stencils. They are numbered in the upper left corner, and I am starting with stencil number 1. And I'm just taking the time to align it with the stencil openings on the Hellebore Haven image. And if you ever need a reference, always be sure to look at the packaging for your stamp set. It opens up, it gives lots of great ideas, pardon me, and it gives some really great color ideas as well. So for today, for stencil 1, I am using pale mauve, pastel sunrise, and mauve for all of these flowers, and I'm using the mini blending brushes from Altenew so that I can place the colors in different areas, and I can do the flowers in all different colors, and I don't have to worry about doing any masking or anything like that. Now, if you only have larger blending brushes, that's okay. Grab a little bit of low tack tape and just mask off the areas, and that works just the same. So I started out with the pale mauve, and I picked a few of the flowers to ink blend in that tone. You'll notice I'm blending a little deeper at the base and then blending out to be a little bit lighter as I make my way out on those petals. And I just love the little bit of added gradation that this adds to the image. I'm not worried about a light source or anything like that. It's just about adding a little bit of extra detail to my cards. Now I am finishing up the flowers in that lovely mauve, which is just a really lovely pink tone. And we've got a great start to our flowers. Now, I have actually moved over to stencil number 3 for this option. You don't always have to do the stencils in the exact same order, and I wanted I just felt like this was a better order for the colors that I chose. So I am using Amethyst for the next shade of purple, Canyon Clay for the next shade of orange, and Berrylicious for that next shade of pink. And I am basically doing the same thing that I did with the first stencil. I am blending a little deeper at the base and blending it outwards to be softer. And I'm using those fantastic mini blending brushes that Altenew offers. I love the shorter bristle on these brushes. I feel like it gives me a little bit more control when I'm ink blending images, especially when I am ink blending with multiple colors on a stencil where some of the elements might be a little closer together. All right, so now we're going back to stencil number 2 and finishing up ink blending of the main flowers. And I've just gone up a shade in all of the colors. So we've got Grape Agate for the purple, and I stuck with Canyon Clay for the orange because both orange flowers only had 2 layers. And then finally, I have the acai berry for the darkest shade of pink. And here I am doing the same thing that I've done with the first 2 layers of stenciling. I am blending deeper at the base, blending it out to be softer. Now, some of these images are a little bit smaller than those first ones. So if you aren't able to get as much gradation in these ones, that is totally okay. Now, there are some little tiny flower sprays on this stencil as well, which I am coming in with that pink crystal, which is just a nice light white. And I realized I totally forgot one of the flowers that needed that deeper shade of pink, but thankfully my blending brush still had plenty of ink available in it. So this is the final stencil. This is stencil 4, and I am breaking this up into 2 parts. I am finishing up ink blending on all of the flowers first. So I'm coming in with plum, burnt red to finish off those. They're basically just the middles of the larger flowers that are the purple tone and the orange tone. And then finally, there are a few more of those little tiny floral sprays. I went with pink crystal on the last stencil, and now I'm coming in the next shade up, which is mauve. And so it's just a nice little gradation of color on those little flower sprays. Now finally, it's time to do the greenery, and I am using a combination of sage stone, and mossy granite. I'm starting with that more sage tone because it's a little bit lighter. I am blending all of the leafy elements in the sage, and then all of the more stem-like elements I'm coming in with that deeper shade of mossy granite. And then you'll notice that on the greenery, I brought just a little bit of the mossy granite in just at the very base. And that is the end of our ink blending. And look at how lovely these colors turned out. I don't even know what season to call these. They're kind of fall. They have a little bit of a wintry feel. I think you can use these colors for any season, and they're just lovely. So with all of the ink blending done, it's time to die cut out this image. It's got the nice big die that cuts the whole thing out, and then also cuts out a little bit of chads and details from the middle, which is something I just love when dies do that. I love being able to see underneath those areas because it's kind of like how you would see it in real life, right? So up next, I also want to die cut out that word friend. So we're cutting the inner main sentiment from Ivory Glitter, and then the shadow layer from some vellum. And I'm just taping those down, and I'm going to run them through my die cut machine, and we will have the start of the sentiment. I also die cut 2 extra layers of the actual sentiment die from some white cardstock for stacking purposes. And I'm just using a little bit of liquid glue to stack and glue all of these elements together. And that just makes the sentiment a little bit sturdier and have a little bit of added dimension. I have glued everything together, and I'm just using an embellishment tool to get the little tittles added to the top of the eye. You don't want to lose the tittles. So I want to have a little secondary sentiment for this. So I am grabbing one of those nice thin small sentiments from the Hellebore Haven stamp set. And I am inking it up in some black ink. Now this is the one that says you make the world brighter. And I just think that that's perfect for a friendship card. I mean, I know that my friends make my world brighter. And so I think that's absolutely perfect for a friend. Now off camera, I added a big panel of foam adhesive to the back of my 3D embossed panel. And I am adhering that down to a white card base. I really think that that will make it pop. And then we're going to go ahead and, pardon me, glue the heat embossed and ink blended floral element in that upper left corner of the card. And I just love how by just putting it in the opposite corner of the 3D embossing, you've got that little bit of texture in your background, and it really helps make those ink blended florals pop even more. So once I feel like the glue is set in place, I'm just going to go ahead and trim any excess of the florals that are hanging off the edge of the card away so that this will still fit into an envelope. Now I added a little bit of foam strips to the back of the die cut sentiment word that says friend. And I am just going to adhere this to the lower right corner over top of some of that 3D embossing. And then I've also added foam tape to the back of the stamped sentiment as well. And I'm just going to tuck that right underneath, just snuggle it up underneath that word friend. And it just creates a really lovely friendship card, I think. So off camera, I added a couple of sequins just to embellish here and there. And that is my card for you featuring this beautiful new floral set. Once again, it's called Hellebore Haven, and it's just lovely. Like, look at all that sparkle. I'm obsessed with sparkle. And if you followed me for any period of time, you maybe have noticed that. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching my card come together. Be sure to check out the entire video hop, where there's lots of inspiration to be seen and prizes to be won. You can find the next stop in my video description below, along with a link to the Altenew video, which should have the entire list. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I hope you enjoyed what you see, and if you did, I would love for you to like and subscribe and do all of the things. And other than that, I hope that you have a wonderful day.